Welcome into another exciting edition of Locked On 76ers. Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta. Keith, the last thing we needed was some shade thrown on a 76ers star from an NBA legend. We'll tell you who that is, what it was about on this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This particular episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. Keith Pompey, your 76ers beat writer. I was listening to this because it picked up over the last couple of days, a little viral moment, if you will, with NBA legend, two-time NBA champion, seven-time NBA All-Star, NBA Hall of Famer, or Basketball Hall of Famer. Walt Frazier was caught, not on a hot mic, but I mean, it was turned on and he was just doing his job. They're talking about Tyrese.
No, go ahead. Wait. He was straight up with that one.
He was just like, yeah, it wasn't like, yeah, this guy sucks. No, it was like, hello, this thing is definitely on. Okay, here you go. They're talking about Tyrese Maxey on the Knicks version of the broadcast from Abu Dhabi, okay? And the play-by-play guy on the Knicks broadcast, we had Ala Abdul Nabi, and I forget the other gentleman's name that was doing the broadcast here for the Philadelphia audience. But on the Knicks broadcast, hey, listening to Tyrese Maxey do interviews, he's talked about how he's never been on a losing team. And last year, of course, he was on a losing team in the 76ers. We know the famous quote of him right before he was shut down, Keith, of saying, I'm not playing to lose. If you want to lose, you don't play me. And then I believe it was like a game or two later, he was shut down for the rest of the season. But during the broadcast in Abu Dhabi for the Knicks, Walt Frazier responds to the comment made by his partner about Tyrese Maxey never being on a losing team until last year. Walt Frazier, NBA legend, responds by saying, well, he better get used to it.
Yeah.
It was one of those things, Keith. Now, I still very much have it in my blood to go full fan mode on a lot of things. Oh, my goodness gracious. The blood started boiling. It really did. And then I thought about it for a second and I went, is he wrong? Like, I definitely don't like that he said it, but is he wrong? Are we doomed to watching the Sixers go through a middle of the road run again? I mean, even more so middle of the road than not being able to make it out of the second round. I'm talking about, Andre Iguodala status, that type of era, that limbo, that purgatory that we referred to so many times. When you heard that from Walt Frazier, what was your initial reaction to it? And is he wrong? What do you think, Keith?
Okay, so what I want to do is before I give my initial response to it, can you go to Mark Jackson's comment at 10:07? Just click on his comment real quick, and then I'll tell you what I feel.
Mark Jackson's comment.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, right here. Mark Jackson's comment.
Slight shade, but I feel it's all warranted.
You know what? I'm 100% with Mark right about now. I mean? Like, to me, I didn't get offended by it. And plus, I wouldn't get offended by it. You know what I mean? Because I don't, I'm just a reporter covering the team. But here's the thing. When we look at the 76ers and you look at everything that people were saying, we right now, there's a lot of questions with this team. Everything is predicated on the health of Joel Embiid. Everything's predicated on the health of, PG, Paul George. The team lost 28 of their last 32 games last season. They've been struggling. They looked atrocious in the first preseason game. Talking about shooting the ball, they were 3 for 35. Now, again, they didn't have a lot of their key players out there. But when you hear Daryl Morey and you hear Nick Nurse talk about being patient and we're trying to win the day, well, that gives the impression that they're not trying to raise expectations. They're lowering expectations. So with that being said, you think like, okay, this might be another struggle. Things have to go well. So when he said that, it was kind of like, I don't know if he was there. I know that it seems like the people covering the team for the Sixers weren't there. But if he was there, it's kind of like he's looking at this product on the field, on the court, saying, yo, they look bad. They look bad. So to me, it wasn't really he was just dissing them. It was more or less, I'm watching this team and they don't look good at all. At all. That's how I took it.
And I think it was also knowing his audience. Like, he knows in New York that is going to be, oh, hell yeah, we can't take the Sixers seriously. And Tyrese Maxey is going to be on the verge of being the best player on a terrible basketball team. Like, I think that's also what went into it. It was throwing shade for two reasons. One, he knew he could get away with it because, unfortunately, yeah, he's probably right. Look, I don't have high hopes for Joel Embiid being healthy. Look, we've been through this a million times, but I don't have high hopes that Joel Embiid is going to have some miraculous season. I don't think Paul George is going to do that. I think the Sixers, unfortunately, are headed to the impending doom of a limbo purgatory run here, that Tyrese Maxey is going to be the best player for the majority of the games played in a 76ers uniform over the next couple of years here. And that sucks, but that's just where we're headed. If you're asking me to bet on something, that's unfortunately what I'm betting on. I'm rooting for something different, but I'm betting on that. So Walt Frazier is doing the same thing, but in essence, he's playing to his audience. He knows that New York Knicks fans will absolutely love him shading the Sixers and shading Tyrese Maxey. Better get used to being on a losing team, really a middling team, if you will, with the Sixers. So in that, I get the showmanship. And, I mean, look no further than the way Walt Frazier dresses these days. He likes to put on a show, you know what I mean? So I get it. And you know what? If you're a Knicks fan, you absolutely love that, because here's the thing. It ain't hating if it's true. Just like it ain't bragging if it's true, it ain't hating if it's true. And right now, I think that's where the 76ers are unfortunately headed. But if you do go down the path of Tyrese Maxey is going to be the best player on this Sixers and on the Sixers team and most reliable this year, when you factor in the very big likelihood of injuries, with Quentin Grimes being signed now, with the guys around him, Tredon Watford we'll talk about later. When we talk about guys like that, we're talking about more of a rebuilding team or developmental team than we are talking about a team truly competing for a playoff spot, are we not?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, sort of. I think like it's all to be determined. Like right now, like, you know, whether they've been in, they went to Abu Dhabi for 2 games. They had 2 practices before they went there. You know, they've been out of it. They haven't practiced since they returned. Like, you know, they returned first thing Sunday morning. You know, I guess due to jet lag, you know, they took that day off. They took off yesterday, which was Monday, and they take off today. I feel like we really don't know anything about the 76ers until we get them out there. And even if they come out there, there's going to have to be certain guys like, you know, we'll talk about him later, but Tredon Watford, he's going to have to step up and play at an extremely high level. You know, VJ Edgecomb's going to have to play at a level to where he becomes a key piece. And then Quentin Grimes as well. And Jared McCain's going to have to look like the guy who was a rookie of the year. So for a rookie of the year candidate. So for these guys, they're just going to, there's a lot of unanswered questions for them. Now, if we don't get those questions answered, or if we get negative responses to those questions, then yes, again, it's going to be development. It's going to be one of those things where we can see certain players getting moved at the trade deadline to free up cap space to do certain things. But, you know, right now I still think is really early. But what's happening is the expectations are extremely low because of no one knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you highlighted that yesterday in your article. We talked about it on the show as well. Yeah, you're talking about a team that wants to compete for a championship and be relevant with the city, with the way at least Phillies in the playoffs before we're going down 0-2 to the Dodgers. The Eagles coming off a Super Bowl championship. The Sixers want to be in that same type of light, but then they're also telling you, be a little patient. Be a little patient with some things. Yeah, I don't think so. You mentioned it just then, but I want to get into this because I just don't understand it for the life of me. And maybe it has to do with the, what do you call it? or organized team activities, call it that, but not mandatory organized team activities, with the Sixers running so many practices on their own in Camden leading up to training camp officially starting. I want to get into that. Also, how long it takes to get over jet lag with the Sixers being off today as well. Talk about that and more when we return. This is Locked On 76ers and the Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Back after this. And hey, let me tell you about the incredible people at FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app by going to FanDuel.com to get in on all the action this football season. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your $5 bet wins. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. I love using FanDuel because FanDuel gives you so many ways to play. I've built parlays, of course, player props. I've checked out the player props and even followed live lines during the games. Makes watching football even that much more exciting. And other people that were betting on Denver when they were down 17-3 to the Eagles at the start of the fourth quarter, they made themselves a couple of bucks on FanDuel. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into stats, FanDuel makes game day experience that much more exciting. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com right now. Download the FanDuel app to get started. And new customers can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. So once again, head to FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today at FanDuel.com. How long does it take an NBA player to recover from a little the jet lag? They left after the Knicks game there in Abu Dhabi in the Abu Dhabi games, Keith. They flew home to Philly. They were off the rest of Sunday, obviously. Off Monday, obviously. And then today's Tuesday, and we were up in the air as to whether or not we were going to go live earlier, whether or not we were going to tape later in the day. But then you got the Sixers practice schedule. And what's the practice schedule say for today, Keith?
They're off today.
They're off today.
Yeah.
What are they doing, Keith? What's going on?
You know what? Here's part of the. I mean, it's. I think that typically I never expected from what I was told that there was no expectations that they would practice, of course, on Sunday because they were arriving back. Secondly, and then here's the thing: is what an 8-hour time difference. So you think they went back in time 8 hours, right? When they were flying. The thing is, they didn't think they were probably going to practice on Monday either. And then Tuesday, some people felt like it could have been an optional, where guys just come in
around, whatever,
and get some shots up or what have you. I think that's probably what's going on, or the resting part. But here's something else, though. I think when you look at the 76ers. A guy like Paul George hasn't really been practicing. Joel Embiid, I guess it's kind of like day to day. He'll practice one day, the next day he's off, whatever. The same thing with Eric Gordon. Then you have Tredon Watford dealing with the hamstring situation. So when we look at it, how many able bodies do they actually have? Now, again, you'll say get guys out there and practice. But the guys who we saw playing in the games, really, when we look at it, they're not the guys that you want to see in the season opener as well. So I think that, yes, they have the rough rest. I would be shocked if they don't have guys out there like, let's be real, Tyrese Maxey. I would be shocked if Maxey's not in the gym, if a couple guys aren't in the gym going through optionals, going through team workouts. But, I think for the 76ers, when we look at them heading up into the season, the biggest question mark for them right now is health. Well, you might want to get those guys healthy right about now, So that's the main thing. But yeah, you are correct. It's like typically you're like, okay, you're taking off. Now here's something else you got to understand too. When you have as much as they want to say that they have a young team, well, you got Kyle Lowry, who's been in the league for 20 years. You have Eric Gordon, who's starting his 18th season. He's 36. You got PG, 35. Joel Embiid is like has an old body, so to speak, right? These are when you have teams like this, even though they want to say they're young and athletic, these type of teams typically don't practice a lot. They just don't. They don't practice a lot. And that's a concern in a way because they have so much that they have to accomplish. Andre Drummond, another older guy, they have so much that they have to accomplish. But at the same time, I do think that them going to Abu Dhabi, while the NBA loved it, I don't think it was a good decision, or not a good decision by the Sixers. I don't think that it benefited the Sixers any. I think that these guys didn't need to take that long flight and deal with all that PR stuff right about now. So I think that set them back some.
Well, on that same note, while they were over there, I mean, are they practicing? Are they getting runs in? I mean, I heard during the broadcast they were talking about Tyrese Maxey and maybe Kyle Lowry going golfing or something, but which is fine. I mean, they get downtime while they're over there. But when it comes to practice, when it comes to being around each other and getting some run in, shots up, whatever, did they get a lot of that while they were over there?
Yeah, they got the practice up, but you got to understand, like the NBA practice, you go there, like you might be scrimmaging for an hour if that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's like quick, impactful. Let's get it in, get it out, go hard, stuff like that. But yeah, from my understanding, they were over there practicing, like, and guys, everybody was like, like let's just say, even if you weren't practicing, you were there. Like, you know what I'm saying? You were there doing something. You were doing something. So from that standpoint, I think it was productive. I think for them, they probably felt like, you know what, we're going to go hard. Like, we're going to start our training camp early, because they did get in 2 practices before they did go to Abu Dhabi. Then once they got to Abu Dhabi, they had they had, what was it? They had an informal thing, like where it was optional once they landed. Then they had days of practices. They played in the games. Typically, when you also in the preseason, when you have an evening game, you'll have a morning shoot around. Well, those morning shoot arounds are actually practices for the preseason. So they got it in. And I think that what they did is, because if you think about it, they practiced for 2 days and then had an optional when they flew once they landed. So I think what they're probably looking at it like, okay, we had 2 early practices, so we were ahead on 2 days. Let's just take 2 days off now and then bring it back together. Now, the hard part is you want to see what Quentin Grimes can do, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly
you
where I
want to
was
see
going.
what he wants to do. So now we're talking at the earliest, you got a Thursday, a Friday practice, a Wednesday, Thursday practice, a Friday shoot around, and then Friday's game, right? And they're probably not going to do anything on Saturday. They may not. But then on Sunday, you have the blue-white scrimmage. And as we know, that's nothing but running up and down the floor, doing a little bit of stuff. So, yeah, time could be running out.
All right. So when it comes to Grimes, and you mentioned some of the older guys on this roster. You mentioned Joel Embiid, Paul George. I mean, Tyrese Maxey's 24 years old. But he's been in the league for more than a minute now. And then you're talking about Andre Drummond, talking about Kelly Oubre is 29 years old. Quentin Grimes, 25, obviously out of the roster now. My thing is Quentin Grimes just getting that run in with guys that have already been practicing for about 2 weeks together, even before the Abu Dhabi games. Because you mentioned the 2 practices before Abu Dhabi, and that's great. And one of the things I love is that this team was together for about 2 weeks, and they were getting runs in on their own before official training camp got underway. But while all that's going on and the new faces are getting acquainted, Quentin Grimes isn't there. So I just want to see how he gets integrated into this team. And this might seem like small potatoes, and maybe in the grand scheme of things it is. But throughout this season, you're going to go through so many different makeups of this team. I'm not going to say it's going to be the 58 different starting lineups again, but you're going to have to go through so many different makeups, iterations of this team. I'd rather get some of those wrinkles, as many as possible, ironed out now for all those guys to get on the same page, whether that's a practice or whether that's during a preseason game. Are they going to get Grimes enough run in this preseason, in this training camp, if you will, to get him on the same page as everybody else around him, especially if he's going to be around the ball a lot more?
I mean, I think they will. I mean, they're going to have to, but at the same time, you're right. Like, at the same time, you're right. They're running out of time and they got to do certain things. But I think they'll. I think they will. I think they will.
Fair enough. All right. When we come back, I want to get into Tredon Watford a little bit more, talk about his hamstring. Also, I'm just hearing some things about potentially a new style of play. I know we've hinted at it throughout the offseason. We'll see whether or not with Quentin Grimes being here now, Tredon Watford eventually gets healthy. We see a little bit of a different rebound and go type situation with the 76ers. All that more when we return. This is Locked On 76ers on the Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. Hey. You want to buy a new car? You want to go on a vacation? Monarch Money helps you save. Monarch Money is absolutely unbelievable. You got to take advantage of all they're offering with Monarch Money. You can use promo code LOCKEDONNBA. That's promo code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com to take full advantage of what they're offering. And how about this? A lot of people that don't know where all their finances are. They can't name all their accounts, their properties, whatever it might be, investments. You don't know the worth of them. Monarch Money helps you track all of it. So go to monarchmoney.com, use promo code LOCKEDONNBA, and you get 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with promo code LOCKEDONNBA. Also, you can use all this while never touching a spreadsheet. Clear data, visuals, characterization of your accounts, and all that with Monarch Money at monarchmoney.com. So once again, go to monarchmoney.com, and you could use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com. So go to monarchmoney.com and get 50% off your first year with promo code LOCKEDONNBA. Keith, the way I see it is Tredon Watford is Tyrese Maxey's close friend. When Tyrese Maxey ranked his best friends, Tredon Watford was number 2. So that means something. But then also talking about the style of play that you highlighted when he was with the Brooklyn Nets, which is a rebound and go guy, a facilitator. Think Ben Simmons, but clearly not as fast. You can get that push and that ability to facilitate from one of your fours, if you will. Also looking at the possibility of Paul George doing that when he's healthy. Quentin Grimes now officially being here. How much of a different style do you expect from the 76ers, and how much is it going to be impacted based on the health of Joel Embiid?
I think we could see a little switcheroo. I mean, we talked about it before in regards to, just getting a guy that's going to get him out there and a point forward who can pass the ball. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be kind of, you remember when they had Nico Batum at times? That's what Nico Batum was. He was kind of like a point forward who did certain things. He set teammates up. The thing about Tredon Watford is kind of like the unknown, if we're really going to be honest with ourselves. And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of people are saying, okay, this is what Tredon Watford does. He's really great at it. But at the same time, he played for the Brooklyn Nets. We really didn't pay attention to the Brooklyn Nets. He played for the Portland Trail Blazers. So it's all going to be new to us now. I know Nick Nurse raves over him. Tyrese raves over him, this and that. But we'll finally get to see for ourselves. Now, the different style I think they tried to show some of it in the preseason. Like, they're going to do this up-tempo. They're going to get out and run. They're going to be running rim to rim. They're not going to be as slow as they were before. To me, it seems like, you remember when Doc Rivers was there and they tried to get Maxey in space and just tried to push the ball a lot. I think that's what we're going to see a little bit of. My question is, you remember how when Nick Nurse first came here, they did a little bit of that in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, they realized that they had the two-man game between Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and they went away from it, right? So to me, it's all like, until they actually get out there and do it, then we'll have a better idea. But I think it's going to be quick tempo. You got athletic guys, move the ball, get quick shots, just run up and down the floor. You know what I mean? Because they're looking at it like, if Joel Embiid can't go, we have to go with a different style of play. We have to be able to get Maxey in space, get mismatches and things like that. So that's what they're really trying to do.
I want to get a couple of comments in here. Peter just wants to know, right? Cut to the chase. Who do you think plays Friday? Do you think we see Maxey Friday? I mean, you got to see somebody Friday. So I think you'll see Maxey. I think you'll see Grimes. You'll obviously VJ Edgecombe. Anybody else?
I mean, you probably see Barlow. You see a lot of guys. It's tough. Like, now, here's the thing. The one guy that we were talking about before was Watford, right?
Yeah.
So, and we talked about, does he go on Friday, before we came on the podcast. I'm a little bit on the fence with this one right now. And I'm a little bit more on cautious. And the reason being is that, after you and I communicated, I started thinking about Nico Batum. And I remember years ago when Nico was on the team and Nico missed like maybe 4 games because what the team labeled was hamstring tightness. And then come to find out, well, tightness isn't exactly an injury. What's tight? Why are you tight now? So what happened is Nico Batum had a hamstring strain, and those are one of those things that you have to be extremely cautious with.
Sure.
You don't know the extent of it, or you don't know if he's 100% back or not until you get him out there going 100%. So with that being said, it's one of those things where I don't know if I want to bring Tredon Watford back unless I tested it out. And even with that is because right now, yes, it's great for us to get a glimpse of Tredon Watford to see what he can do against the Orlando Magic. But I think when the games really count on the 22nd against the Boston Celtics is when I really want to make sure, because when Nico Batum came back, he never had a hamstring injury before. He had a hamstring strain. He comes back. He plays in a couple games. And next thing you know, he's out again. And if I'm Nick Nurse, I do not want to see that because of, we're talking about Tredon before, his style of play, all these other things that he does. Well, if he's down, then that's just going to put you back a little bit further on the change that you want to have. Now, if I would love to see Barlow go again, I do think a guy like Justin Edwards is going to have to get reps. Maybe they may do Maxey, say, hey, look, this is the 3rd game. Let's see if you can get 3/4 of an action, depending on what we do at practice. The same, you're definitely going to see VJ Edgecombe out there, right? Quentin, they're going to get Quentin out there. How long he stays out there, that's anyone's guess, depending on how he looks at practice. But, Embiid, Paul George, I don't know. Just because of is what they're just like trending, they are guys that you want to see play in the regular season whenever they do come back.
Fair enough. One more question I want to get to here. We touched on it yesterday, but I think it's worth reiterating. Mark Jackson's asking the question in our chat. By the way, when you said Mark Jackson at the 708 mark or whatever, I was like, are you talking about Mark Jackson gave a press conference in Abu Dhabi? And I'm like, oh, this Mark Jackson. Considering Quentin Grimes took the qualifying offer, in your opinion, what impact will it have on this season? Good and bad, or good or bad? I don't know what he means, but I think it's only good. I mean, unless you wanted to just throw full commitment to the development of VJ Edgecombe and not at all try to win now. I mean, you can, depending on what you judge there, but I think it's good. I think you can only take good out of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna take both, right?
Oh, what do you got there?
I'm gonna take both. So, because you can look at it 2 different ways, right? So the good aspect is right now you do have, like what you said, I agree with you. You have someone who can come in and you can play right now, plug and play. You got you look at the 76ers once Jared McCain comes back. The 76ers wanted to be like the Oklahoma City Thunder. They wanted to be like the Indiana Pacers, where they had a plethora of guards that you could go out there and be interchangeable, right? We all know that, right now when we look at shooters, 3-point% shooters, Eric Gordon's number 1 on the team, probably, from last year. Quentin Grimes was number 2. And then you had Jared McCain. Like, they were all up in there. So you have that. That's going to help you out. The bad part about him doing that 1-year qualifying offer is if he has a solid season, if he is phenomenal, you do not have his rights. Like, I mean, he could become a free agent. He could
Right.
go somewhere, and he may feel like, hey, y'all didn't give me the money that I wanted, and I'm gonna go somewhere else where I feel appreciated. And the thing is, unless the 76ers can get rid of players, now again, Kelly Oubre is going to come off the books. Andre Drummond's going to come off the books. So there will be some money available. But if there's a team willing to overpay for him if he has a phenomenal year, the 76ers could be in trouble just because they didn't lock him up. But right now, that's all you got to focus on is this upcoming season. You got to see how it works out.
That makes sense. His name is Keith Pompey. Make sure you guys are reading on Inquirer.com. Will there be practice tomorrow, Keith? Will they dare practice before?
I mean, I'm assuming they will. Yeah, you would assume it.
Jet lag, man. Jet lag. You know what I mean? Yeah. All right. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Locked On 76ers. That's Keith Pompey right there. I'm Marc Farzetta. We appreciate you guys joining us. And how about this? We appreciate you making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. For your second listen, go to Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you win your league, all while making you a smarter NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For Keith Pompey, I'm Marc Farzetta. Back with you guys tomorrow. Hopefully running down with the Sixers. We'll do a practice tomorrow. See you guys then. Bye.